Welcome to the DTC podcast.
To, in a way, do your own thing if you choose to.
Welcome to the DTC podcast. I'm Daniel Findley, here with Dr. Tom Brown. We're going to talk today about the first things to do once you decide to take the PE exam.
Hello, Daniel. Looking forward to talking with you.
I am as well. So there's a lot of information out there about the mechanical engineering PE exam, what to expect, what it's like. I want us to get started, though, on what happens to get started on taking the exam. So what's the first thing people need to think about before they take that step to take the exam?
I feel that it's really the first thing is to get in touch with their state board, either online or call. They're very, very helpful. They're really not a barrier to your getting a PE. They want you to do that. But contact them and find out the details of how to go about taking the exams, both the FE and then the PE. Are they part of the decoupling process or not? Find those things out. But go to your board and find out exactly what's there, and also to the NCES website, find out some information about that in terms of the getting registered for the exams themselves here. Choosing the exam is also a biggie, because once you figure out, okay, I'm going to take the exam, I can do this, okay, legally that's okay. Now what exam do I take? Because now when you register, you have to pick the exam. Of course, you pick the day as well, and that's sort of committed, and you're on your way, okay?
That's great. Taking the first steps, often one of the more difficult things, just making that decision and moving forward. And you mentioned the state boards, and so there's some criteria and requirements that each state may have. But for the exam itself, everyone's taking this national exam, right?
Right. Everybody takes the same exam. Some professions have different exams for different states. But for engineering, it's the same exam nationally. However, now that they have a computer-based testing, they have the ability to pull problems from a huge bank of problems. And so while it seems a little strange, each person taking the exam gets a different exam. Now the specifications tell you there's going to be so many of this and so many of that. Well, you may have more of this and less of the other, kind of vice versa. And the NCS doesn't give any information as to what that is with that particular one. So that's really one of the biggies right there.
And you mentioned in a previous answer that choosing the exam is part of the process, and there are multiple options. And so what are those factors someone should think of when they're looking at, here are the options, and thinking about their background and their work experience? How do all those factor into this?
Oh, that's one. You've hit on one of the questions we get a great many of. People want to know, which exam should I take? Maybe it's because of what they've done before in terms of their job, or maybe have taken the exam and failed it. There's 3 exams, the mechanical design and materials, we call it MDM, the thermal and fluid systems, and then the HVAC and refrigeration. And the way I try to work with people is that first, the MDM, if you have a copy of Shigley in your car and at home that you have somewhere, okay, that's going to be the exam. You're working with gears and bearings and whatever you work, that's the one to choose, and we really have a very high pass rate for that exam. I think that's because of it, because people answer that question, yes to that, okay, that's it, we're done. We don't pick any.
And maybe conversely, if you haven't heard of Shigley,
if you haven't heard of Shigley,
that's maybe a good sign that's not the exam for you. So
that's not because it has a lot of different topics. That
right.
comes. It's one of our criteria. How many different topics do you have on the exam? And machine design MDM has a lot of topics. Okay. The next one to talk about is the HVAC and refrigeration. It's governed by ASHRAE. And again, if you don't have the ASHRAE fundamentals and the complete set of other very large books this thick, 2 sets of them actually in your house, then maybe that's not the one. But if you do, then that's the one. The only thing about that one is, though, it tends to be the harder of the 3, the tougher of the 3 exams. But a lot of those people have to be PEs. This is one of the places where having a PE is more of a requirement than somebody working for some company making gears or whatever that's going there. If in fact if you're into that world, you can actually take the thermal and fluids because it has the least amount of different topics. You got thermal and fluids, and then fluids and thermo. I mean, and heat transfer. Yeah, the three legs there of it. And so it has the least amount, and that one is if you don't qualify for the other two, that's the one to take.
Okay.
In fact, our HVAC instructor took the TFS exam when he took it because he taught the course and became the expert in the department on that particular topic. So that's how I do it. And usually by the time we get through that conversation, we know which one we're going to pick.
That's great. And maybe just to put a fine point on that, if you take an exam in one topic, are you restricted to only practice and work in that area? That's a question I get a lot.
No. In fact, people say going to get a mechanical PE. No, you get a PE. Yep. If you want to take the chemical exam and pass it, you'd still be a PE. One of the things I wanted to remember is that I give much more detail about how to choose which exam to pick in our YouTube video on exam strategy. So if somebody wants to know more in detail, I go through all these little steps about each of the different criterias and what's pros and cons for each one of the three to help. Because that is, if that could be step number 3 of the things to do first is to decide which exam to take.
Mm-hmm. That's great. You know, we have this as professional engineers, we have this ethical responsibility not to practice outside of our domain. So just because you pass an exam in one subject doesn't necessarily mean you should be practicing that area. It needs to be part of your discipline and part of your expertise there. So thanks for clarifying that. And that is an important choice, and hopefully one that you can make early on based on these recommendations. And then once we get past that, so we've picked our exam, what do we do next?
Well, the next thing is to get a plan. You need a plan to study by. You can try to do this decision. Do you want to try to do this on your own? Mm-hmm. That might work for some people. Wouldn't work for me. I need a plan. I need details as to what goes on, and that's why the course looks like it does. It would be what I would want to take if I was taking the exam. You need to commit yourself to 20 hours at least a week. Some people may get by with 15. I don't think much less than that. I think you're not going to be able to spend more than 20. Most people have a full-time job and family, or may have a family and stuff. So you work with that. What we have is short videos that you can do in the morning. You know, we get started. Maybe you get up and you spend just 30 minutes. Many of our videos are just 10 minutes, 15 minutes long. You may, at lunch, it's not, do a couple there at lunch somewhere. You also may do it later on at night, maybe when everybody's asleep or something, sit down and spend it just an hour. But and then the weekend becomes your, the time when you spend more time. But that's really one of the things to do, is to get a plan for what you're going to do. And that's hard to do for people. And that's where our course comes in, is to help you with that plan.
That flexibility is great, because I've been in that situation where I've got 50 minutes when one of my kids is at gymnastics, and can I fit something productive in there? Can I make progress and not have to need a huge block of time to be able to make some headway? And that's really useful for people that have a busy schedule.
Yeah, I think what people are calling that is micro learning now these days. It's little small pieces, and that's really how you learn. I mean, you can only absorb just so much, and I think that's a key to success.
Yeah, and being able to customize what time you have available for your prep is great, and hopefully people can see that path of here's the blocks of time, the windows of time in my week, whether it's before work while I'm having breakfast, or if it's during a lunch break, or while they're waiting on a kid's activity, all those kind of things. So hopefully you've identified the time that you can put into it. Do you have suggestions on some of those next steps of actual preparing for the exam and being ready to actually take the exam itself?
Well, again, you have the choices of whether you want to go self-paced study, just get the practice exams and other materials from NCES and look at those. The problem is that those are not, look at the specifications, those lists are not in any kind of order that's what you would study. So if you started studying according to the specifications, I don't think you're going to get very far. So you really do need something that will help you go through a logical sequence of the material. We didn't just put it together, okay, we'll have this first and this second. I mean, there's a lot of thought that has gone into what's in our courses, at least. But that's an important part of somebody's decision on how to go about studying for the exam, to having that time.
And I think that's really helpful to think about in that broader context, how it's going to fit in and what's going to fit your needs. And if they've decided now at this point, look, I need that structure, I need a plan, I need a program. Life is busy, it's easy to put things off. I want somebody to hold me accountable and walk through a process. And so what are those things if they've decided I want a prep course, what should they be looking for in a prep?
Well, again, they're looking for structure. One of the things I was going to say is that we have a lot of people who try the self-paced and don't make it. Okay, so they fail, but that's okay. One of the things I want to make a point is that they do not put the number of times you took the exam on your license. Okay, it doesn't matter. Okay, so we get a lot of folks who say, "Oh, okay, I tried to do this on my own, and I just can't get anywhere." And then they take the course and they come back later on and say, "Oh, okay, this is what I needed. I needed the structure, the organization, the sequencing, the way we have it set up with lessons that have examples, problems that are short directly at the lessons. We're building on each one of those things each week, so that you feel by the time you get to the end of the week, you have an assessment quiz and you pass that, with flying colors. You go, oh, okay. Well, I never knew this material before. Well, okay, well, that's great. That makes my day when we get those kind of emails.
Yeah, that's great. And I've heard the same experience from participants that they tried on their own once, maybe they tried on their own twice and weren't successful, and it really helped them to have that structure and somebody guiding them through the things that they should focus on. You can't learn you cannot learn everything. You gotta review things. You're hopefully refreshing on things. Maybe there's a couple of new things you're learning, but really where the structure of the program comes in and the process is, here are the things that you need to know. You need to be ready for these going to the exam. You're not going to get all 80 problems, so get that out of your mind that you're gonna solve them all 100% correctly. We want to pass the exam. That's the goal.
If you thought of all the problems you could possibly see as a pool, we're not just throwing you in the pool. We're teaching you how to swim.
Correct.
And so you're only going to go in certain places, and that's it. And
that's why I think a lot of times when you're looking and working problems, the process is just as important as the answer, because you will never see that problem again. You're not going to see that exact iteration of that problem. But what you want to do is you want to know that line of thinking, why you made decisions, why the instructor is telling you to take this approach versus that approach, how it ties back to the reference handbook and the other design standards that you'll have available. All that's critically important to be successful on the day of the exam, not just knowing, here's 20 problems I know how to work, and as long as they ask me these 20 problems, but again, that process, the methods, how to approach the problem.
Yes. You may see a problem and go, okay, this is not exactly what we did in class, but it's the reverse of it.
Yes.
And so, okay, I got this.
Because you understand, if at that point you understand the principles, it doesn't matter which way I ask. If I ask from this direction, that direction, whatever direction, you're going to be able to solve it because you understand it.
Yeah, we're not doing any derivations. That's one of the words I don't develop is a better word.
Okay.
We don't do any of that. We start with here's the equation for a particular topic, and this is how you're going to see it, and this is the most logical things that you're going to be seen to do. And once you feel comfortable with that, okay, we'll move on to the next topic. I think that's the strength of our prep course.
Great, and those are some great qualities. Is there anything else, extra qualities that somebody should look for in a review class that we haven't touched on yet?
One of the things that we have done is that when the CBT came out in 2020, the change to that form, we didn't just take the course we had and just kind of tweak it to fit. We created completely new courses because it required a different mindset to go about taking the exam. You were not going to be able to bring anything that you had developed on your own into the exam as had been in the previous iterations of it. And we're very proud of that. I think we're really one of the few providers that has actually done that, has actually created a new, completely CBT-focused exam prep course. And we're proud of that. It was not easy to do, as you can imagine. The 500-page reference handbook is daunting just to think about it. But again, if you take one page at a time, you can get through it. And we help you do just that.
And this is where I think the program, the approach of DTC is very important, is because a lot of times we look to our mentors to help guide us through these important career landmarks. And if you go back, if you're, depending on the age of your supervisor or your mentor, they may be talking about the long form PE exam, where they're solving a limited number of problems and working it out and showing work and getting partial credit kind of thing. And then most will probably have the experience with the multiple choice in-person exams style and be able to bring in all your references. But this is a new paradigm. So just if you know somebody or getting mentored by somebody who's taken the exam within the last few years, they're going to have that experience, but other mentors may not. So being careful about the advice you get is important, and also taking it into consideration that the DTC method incorporates the computer-based testing CBT process.
Yes, indeed. That's exactly right. We're going to be with you every step of the way. You're going to have questions. If you have questions about things, we have a forum in which people ask questions, and we answer them for you, typically as soon as we can, help guide you through. If there's might be a typo here, there, and yonder. That's wonderful. To me, I mean, it seems like it's embarrassing to get a typo, but what it tells me is they've gone through that equation, okay? Yes. Good job. They think I'm going to say, oh, you found this error, but no, that means you're working through this. That's what we want you to do, is be familiar enough to where you can ask those kind of questions. That says a lot. I kind of go, okay, he's on the way to pass, or she's on the way to pass for that one, okay? That's great.
Yeah, and they at that point they've internalized that knowledge, right? And they're applying it, and I think that's a great sign that you're not just kind of following the steps, following the process. You're actually internalizing it and ready to apply it to problems on your exam day, which is the most important. Right. What's a major theme you would like someone to take away, our viewers, our listeners, for exam prep and getting ready for the exam?
Well, that we're here to help them. We understand their concerns, their fears or apprehensions, anxiety, all of those kind of things of taking the PE, getting their PE. We're there to help them. We're a resource for that. To take them every step of the way. That's what I would like for them to know that they don't have to go through this in a way alone. We're here with them. When we get an email that says, "Boy, you've just changed my life." Okay, I mean, I now got a promotion at work, or now I can go and join this other group or whatever. When we get those kind of emails, that makes all the difference in the world. Yes, we're a business and all, but when you get those kind of touching emails, that's what it really is about. And we're proud of that. Our prep course gets those kinds of emails.
That's great. It's nice to help set someone off on that trajectory. They're going to have to put in the hard work and effort. And thank you, Dr. Tom.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Dr. Tom's Classroom, your best chance to pass the PE.